Welcome to another episode of the Money Wheel Podcast. The journey to wealth starts here with your host, Don Shade.
Hello, my friend and future millionaire. Welcome to this episode of the Money Wheel. My name is Don Shade. Now, yesterday we started to get into coaching customers. What I'd like to do is continue with that and make this the second part of coaching customers. Let's start looking at the questions you want to ask. The very first question that I want to ask somebody when they're looking at buying my product is, have you ever bought any other training like this? If so, what were your thoughts on it? What does that tell me? Number one, am I dealing with somebody that's brand new, that has no experience? And number two, where you say, if so, what were your thoughts? What if they say, well, I didn't care for it and I got a refund, or the person wasn't very good about it as far as the training. I wasn't satisfied. Let me key you into a little secret here. It probably wasn't that person at all. Now, sometimes you do get hooked up with a coach, or you buy a product that isn't in alignment with your thoughts or isn't taking you in the direction you want to go. But most times when somebody says, oh, I got a refund or I didn't like it, if they talk that way about that person, they're probably going to talk that way about you. And what we're looking at here is how to avoid bad press, so to speak. I'm not saying don't sell to them, but be prepared that you may deal with some people like that. If they say, I wasn't satisfied with this training, I'm looking for something different. Maybe there's somebody that's always looking for something different. They're never going to be satisfied. So that's some of the stuff I want to cover in the first question. I want to ask them, have you ever had this training? What were your thoughts on it? So I get an idea of the way they think and, whether they're going to be satisfied. The next question I want to ask them is this. Are you building this business alone, with your spouse, or do you have a business partner? That tells me two things. The first thing it tells me is if I get on a phone call with these people and we're talking about buying a higher coaching product, if I'm going to sell them a bigger package of my coaching and my time, number one, I'm going to know that there needs to be a spouse or a business partner involved. Or I'm not willing to do the phone call because you just told me you have a spouse or a business partner. That also tells me this. Do I have more than one income? If they say I'm single and I'm building this business on my own, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm single and I build my business on my own, so to speak. Now, I build a team of people around me. Understand I'm far down the path. But if you're dealing with somebody that's just starting out, it may make a big difference that you're only dealing with one income. So that's the two things we want to get out of that question. And then the next question that I want you to ask these people is this. Do you have the skill set to do whatever it is I'm coaching you on your own? And let them write their thoughts out. It'll kind of tell you where they stand as far as, are they a technical person that can use a computer or do whatever it is that you want them to do? And then the next question I want you to ask is, if I was to offer coaching with this program where I basically held your hand and helped you do it, or maybe if I offered a package that did it for you, is that something that would interest you? And let them answer and see what their thoughts are. Don't get into price or anything like that. Just see if there's an interest. And what that does, that gives every customer that comes into your website or your funnel, so to speak, a category to be put in. Because some people are going to say, oh, all I need is the digital training. I can do it on my own. I have enough computer skills. Or, there's sharp people out there that are very good on a computer. They don't need your coaching. But there's other people that would be tickled to death if you said to them, hey, what if I offered you a service where I hold your hand, or I straight out do it for you. And all that stuff is well worth it if you put the right price tag on it. So this is just another step in helping you create your $1 million roadmap. I don't want to get into too much here on just one episode. I want to try to keep things short, but this gives you a few key questions to ask so we know how to set things up to get the perfect customer. That's everything I have for this episode of The Money Wheel. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Money Wheel Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and like the podcast. For everything that was talked about in today's amazing show, go to moneywheelpodcast.com and get today's show notes, past episodes, and most importantly, you can connect with Don Shade on all his social media platforms. Again, at moneywheelpodcast.com. If you are just looking to email Don, you can email him at don@moneywheelpodcast.com. For a list of all our tools we use in our business, you can go to moneywheelpodcast.com/resources. Again, thank you for listening to today's podcast, and see you in our next episode of the Money Wheel Podcast.